Good evening. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustment. It is Thursday, April the 18th, 2024, 6:45, and I will call this meeting to order. Remind members of disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. First order of business is the adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting. That's from March the 7th, 2024. Everyone's had opportunity to peruse those minutes. If there are no errors or omissions, I would accept a mover and a seconder for the following: that the minutes from the Committee of Adjustment meeting held March the 7th, 2024 be approved as presented. Committee member Weisler will move. Committee member Chilcott will second. All in favor? That's carried. Section 4. Minor variance application A0224 froze at 55210 and 55248 Maple Grove line. The purpose of the variance is to retain the legal non-conforming status of a second single detached dwelling, currently demolished due to safety concerns, that had existed prior to the date of the passing of the current zoning bylaw in order to redevelop a new second single detached dwelling, whereas only one single detached dwelling is permitted in the current agricultural A1A zone for the property located at 55210 Maple Grove line. The effect of this variance will be to retain the legal non-conforming status of a second single detached dwelling in order to develop, replace with a new single detached dwelling on the subject property. And at this point, we will entertain a staff presentation at report DS 2524 by Margaret Underhill, Secretary Treasurer, regarding the Committee of Adjustment minor variance A0224 froze. And at that point, I'll welcome you, Marge.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. If there are any persons in attendance for the meeting, please sign in on the sign-in sheet that I have here at the podium. All right, so the report before you is for Jesse and Sarah Froze. They've submitted a minor variance application for their property on Maple Grove line, as already stated. They are seeking to retain the legal non-conforming status of a single detached dwelling that has been demolished due to safety concerns that existed prior to the date of the passing of the current zoning bylaw. And they wish to do this in order to redevelop a new single detached dwelling, whereas one single detached dwelling is permitted in the current A1A zone. The effect of the variance will be to retain this legal non-conforming status of a single detached dwelling in order for them to develop and replace in a future time. Planner's memorandum is attached, dated April the 10th. It provides a full analysis of the application in regards to the 4 tests for variances and case law in Ontario regarding the expansion of legal non-conforming uses and the required tests for conformity. The owner wishes to construct a new dwelling within the next 3 years when finances permit. Staff at this time cannot provide any further opinion on the requirements for construction without any construction plans. But taking from the planner's memorandum, where he states, Arcadis is recommending that if the applicant wishes to build a new single detached dwelling larger and or beyond the building envelope and floor area of the previously demolished single detached dwelling, a subsequent minor variance application would be required. Expanding beyond the previous building footprint and gross floor area without the necessary approval from the Committee of Adjustment would be contrary to Section 45(2) of the Planning Act. Staff and planner concur the application meets the criteria and recommends the granting of the minor variance to permit the retention of the legal non-conforming status of a single detached dwelling. And the report is before you for any questions, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you for that. We'll hold off for questions for a moment. Mr. Froze, do you wish to make a presentation? Yes, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and councilors. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this application. In essence, there has always been 2 buildings, 2 houses on the property that my wife and I own. And because we had to take one down due to the fact that it was falling apart, we just wish to be able to retain the legal non-conforming status and be able to build another house for our family in the future. And that is the purpose of this minor variance application. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any public submissions? Anyone wishing to speak to this?
There are no written submissions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Opening it up to the committee. Any questions? Comments, discussion? Committee Member Weiser.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question, in the application, it speaks about, wanting to build on the existing or rebuild where the existing house was. But then there's some other sections here, like as the family is growing. So I'm just curious as to the size of the house and would the house that was taken down and would that, I know it's gonna have to go through a whole building process or permit process, but just making sure that the house that was taken down is big enough to accommodate a growing family.
Through the chair to Committee Member Weisler. The applicant at this point does not have confirmed building plans. They've not confirmed the size of what this new house will be or what it will look like. They are anticipating rather than a two-story or a higher up, they would be stretching it out to a ranch style. In saying that, included in the report is the fact that if they are going larger or bigger than the building envelope that existed, they will have to come back for a minor variance to allow for that. So that's to be determined. And the applicant is fully aware of that.
Perfect.
Okay?
Thank you.
Additional questions from committee members? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on with the decision of the committee. The resolution reads that the Committee of Adjustment Secretary Treasurer's Report DS 2524 regarding the Froze minor variance be received. And that the Committee of Adjustment considered all written and oral submissions received on this application, the effect of which helped the committee to make an informed decision. And whereas the committee agrees that the proposed variance as presented meets section 45(1)(1) of the Planning Act and is considered minor. Therefore, application A 0224 submitted by Jesse and Sarah Froze pursuant to section 45 of the Planning Act for a minor variance is granted to allow relief from Municipality of Bayham zoning bylaw number Z 456/2003, section 4.10, to retain the legal non-conforming status of a second single detached dwelling that had existed prior to the date of the passing of the current zoning bylaw in order to develop a new second single detached dwelling in the future. Whereas only one single detached dwelling is permitted in the current agricultural A1A zone. And further, that the approved minor variance application A 0224, a subsequent minor variance application will be required if the applicant wishes to build a new single detached dwelling larger and or beyond the original building envelope and floor area of the previously demolished single detached dwelling. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Committee Member Emerson? Excuse me. And Committee Member Chilcott will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moving on with minor variance application, excuse me, A 424. Sawatsky and Friesen at 57070 Eden Line. The purpose of this variance is to permit a new accessory building, a garage, on the subject property with a maximum height of 5.5 meters, whereas section 951 of the zoning bylaw permits a maximum height of 4.5 meters for accessory building. The subject lands are located at 57070 Eden Line, north side and east of Plank Road in the hamlet of Eden. The effect of this variance is to permit an increased maximum height to accommodate a new accessory building, garage, and replace the existing shed on the subject property. At this point, we'll entertain the staff presentation. That's report PS 2624 by Margaret Underhill, Secretary Treasurer, regarding Committee of Adjustment minor variance A 0424. Mark, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would note if anyone is in attendance for this public meeting to please sign in on the sheet that I have here at the podium. The minor variance application before the committee tonight is submitted by Cornelius Sawatsky and Trudy Friesen for their property as stated at 57070 Eden Line. They are wishing to construct a new accessory building, a garage, on the subject lands. And they have applied for a maximum height of 5.5, where the zoning bylaw maximizes the height at 4.5. The owner wishes to construct and in the future possibly use the upper story for a residential unit, otherwise known as an additional residential unit, ARU. The planner's memo attached dated April the 10th does analyze the application against the 4 tests for variances, noting this potential use in the upper level of the detached garage in the future. The owner has been advised the construction of the garage should account for the future ARU in regards to the sanitary connection, fire separation between the units, and to be equipped with working carbon monoxide and smoke alarms once it's a residential area. Staff would recommend a condition requiring a grading plan addressing water runoff to ensure water is not directed to the neighboring properties. Staff and planner concur the application meets the criteria, recommends the granting of the minor variance to permit the construction of the overheight detached garage. And I leave it with you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much for that. Does anyone of the applicants, or I assume one is present, would you like to make a presentation this evening? Can't see you back there. Sure.
Hello, my name is Cornelius Sawatsky. Nice to meet you all. I submitted this application because I was going to build a shop, and then I decided to increase the height since I was able to, and just for later in the future have like a just a loft up there, like on top, just for family use, and that's pretty much it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Any public submissions? Anyone from the public wishing to speak?
Yes.
Please come forward.
Hello, I'm Marty Smith. I reside next to this property. And I oppose this variance as this building or potential building runs right along my property. And if it was built on the existing garage pad, as this says, where there actually is no shed, there was a garage there, a shed was temporarily there and is gone. That second story would overlook my entire backyard and would prevent my enjoyment of the backyard. The other issue I have is the potential residence of possibly a business, let's say an Airbnb, or multiple people living over my backyard practically. I have no issue with a garage, but a second story, I think would be a problem in the area that it's proposed to be.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
I actually had one more thing, and he also mentioned the point of a shop, and that was my second concern, was that it would end up to be a business there, and it's a very, very quiet residential area. And with families in each home. So I was concerned with that, and also the noise of the business. It's very quiet if there was a potential business there. In the words that he said was a shop. So when I heard the height of it, I thought, well, they could have an auto garage or something like that that would be very noisy. So that's my concern.
All right, thank you for that. Would I be able to speak again from a rebuttal? Yeah, I think you're permitted to rebut. Briefly.
So the proposed location is further to the road, so it won't be in the backyard at all. So it won't be overlooking her backyard. And it won't be used for business. It's just to keep my stuff inside, pretty much. and just vehicles for the winter. And that's about it.
All right, thank you for that. One last call. Any more public comments? Okay, committee members, any questions, discussion? Committee member Chilcott.
Thank you. I'm looking at the drawing that's here and it's in big shop, so I'm assuming that's what you're building. And it is at the very back of your property, it looks like. Where would the other property be?
My house is adjacent to their house, and the cement pad that I think the drawing you have is. Oh, of course, sorry. I believe that the cement pad, the existing cement pad that the previous garage was on is further back, which is next to my backyard. If it were not there and it was beside the house, then it would be beside my house. So,
So where he's saying it is, would not be beside your house.
so the paperwork says on a cement pad, which is further back, but now he's saying further up, which would be next to my house with a very tight property line there. From the edge of their driveway, it's probably about a foot property line. Maybe 2 at the most.
According to the drawing, it says 7 feet.
Well, I don't know where they're actually saying the building is. I'm just saying where their driveway edge right now is not very far off of the property line.
Okay.
So I can't speak to where their plan is.
Right. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And while we have a plan here,
Yeah, and
go
I
by.
can't see that
Yeah.
plan, so I can't speak to that either.
okay. Any additional clarifying questions? Yes, Committee Member Weiser.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Is there a fence line there?
Yes.
There is a fence line.
That's my fence.
Yes, there is a fence that was there when I moved there, so. And I measured off of the fence and it is supposed to be at least 7 feet away from the fence. And it is going to be halfway from my house midpoint back to about 7 feet behind the house. So it should not be going further than the back of her house. So it shouldn't be in the backyard at all.
It's a hip-roof structure. I see no windows on the upper deck on the hill.
There's gonna be 2 in the back
That's
and 2 in the front.
correct, but I don't see anything on the sides.
No, it's a barn style.
Yep.
So it won't be looking over her yard at all.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
Anything further from committee members?
Quick comment to that. If you measured from the fence is not the property line. The property line is inside of, so my fence is 2-3 feet off of the property line, inward to my property. So there is no 7 feet. It's
Okay.
maybe 4 feet then, if that measurement is correct,
All
to
right.
his property.
Clarifying, Marg, can you confirm?
Mr. Chair, I can't confirm or deny
Right.
where property lines are. But suggestion would be that that property line needs to be surveyed to establish exactly where that property line is. And if there is a discrepancy on the 7 feet, then it would have to be, the application would have to be amended.
All right. Would that be a recommendation perhaps to defer this application?
I would say, Mr. Chair, with any doubt as to that setback and where that property line falls, Mr. Sawatsky has stated that he took the measurement from the fence.
Right.
Ms. Smith says that it's not the property line, so There's a discrepancy there. So to be comfortable with the application, I would suggest that that property line be confirmed and the application amended if necessary.
I would tend to agree with you on that. Committee okay with that? All right,
I would also suggest, Mr. Chair, that if the garage placement, if the garage was actually attached to the house, we would not be having this conversation because it would not be an accessory building.
correct.
And when you look at the lineup of structures, quite often garages are right next to other properties and property lines. So I'm just saying. It's not in the backyard. He's presenting it that it is forward 40 feet off the front lot line.
Yep.
But again, it's the westerly lot line that needs to be dealt with.
Okay, thank you. For our scribe, have you got something for us?
And just Mark, can you, so we're gonna be deferring it until application 0424 gets a survey, or what would you recommend for the wording?
That the owner be required to provide a survey to confirm the westerly lot line.
So through you, Chair, we have a proposed motion that the Committee of Adjustment Secretary Treasurer's Report DS 2624 regarding the Sawatsky Friesen minor variance be received, and that the Committee of Adjustment defers application A 0424 until the owner can provide a survey to confirm the westernly lot line.
Having heard the motion, do I have a mover and seconder? Okay, committee member Weisler and second by committee member Chilcott. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, thank you. All right, that brings us to the adjournment motion that the Committee of Adjustment meeting for consideration of minor variance applications A 0224 and A 0424 be adjourned at 7:08 PM. And that in accordance with the regulations of the Planning Act, notices of decision be circulated by the Secretary Treasurer accordingly. Moved by committee member Weisler. Second by committee member Emerson. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. We will turn directly to our regular agenda. Okay. Good evening, and I will call to order the regular session of council for Thursday, April the 18th, 2024. It is 7:08 PM, and I'll call the meeting to order. Remind members of any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Item 3, review of items not, excuse me, Councilor Froze, pardon me.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to disclose 12.11H.
Thank you. Okay. Any other disclosures? Thank you for that. Item 3, review of items not listed on the agenda. Nothing?
We have no items tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Announcements? Councilor Chilcott.
Thank you. I wanted to announce that this Saturday, the outdoor show will be on at the Stratfordville Community Center. That's April 20th from 8 till 2 PM. The cost for admission is $5 per person. People 16 and under are free. Edison Fest will be June 1st from 9 till 5 in Vienna Memorial Park. And they invite you to come to the Edison Museum and check that out as well. And then June 8th, the Port Burwell Marine Museum from 2 to 4 will have their grand reopening, and they're hoping that everyone can attend
What's time on that one?
from 2 to 4.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, thank you for that. Moving on to section 7, adoption of minutes of the previous meeting. These include the regular council meeting or regular minutes of council held April the 4th, the statutory planning meeting held April the 4th, and the quarter revision meeting held April the 4th, 2024. Everyone's had opportunity to review those minutes. And if there are no errors or omissions, I will entertain a mover and seconder for the following. That the minutes of the regular meeting of council, statutory planning meeting, and quarter revision meeting held April the 4th, 2024 be approved as presented. Moved by Councillor Emerson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Weiser. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Slipping down to section 11, physical services and emergency services, 11.2, reports to council. We have report PS 0624 by Ed Willison, manages capital projects, water, wastewater, regarding the drinking water quality management standards operational plan, BAM and Richmond Water Systems. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. The report before you this evening is regarding drinking water quality management standards, operational plans for our BAM and Richmond drinking water systems. Just some brief background that municipal drinking water system owners are required to operate their drinking water systems with a valid license and incorporate a quality management system into their operations as implemented under the Safe Drinking Water Act. There's about 5 components regarding licenses from the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. Specifically, 1, the operational plan. Secondly, that does have to be endorsed by the owners. That's the municipal council. And along with that accredited plan would come the accredited operating authority. In our case, that's our water department. And also a financial plan is required, as well as a permit to take water if applicable. Permit to take water in the case of the BAM system is not applicable. And currently the Richmond water system falls just under the requirement for a permit to take water. Drinking water quality management standard operational plans are not a new thing. We've actually I've been before council a couple of times now in endorsing operational plans and re-endorsing our plans as there's been change in upper management or change in council. We have successfully been audited on an annual basis, and we've had no concerns arise with our operational plan, which has had no negative impacts whatsoever on our accreditation as a operating authority. It's recently come to our attention that we're operating two separate plans, and in discussions with the Ministry of Environment, as well as our third-party auditing authority, it's been recommended that we may consider combining these 2 plans under one. They share a lot of similarities. There's 21 components to the drinking water standard that overlap. So we've actually, in essence, have experienced a lot of duplication with the 2 systems. In regards to operational cost to maintain the plans and the associated audits on an annual basis, these costs are picked up obviously in the annual operating budgets as approved by council. So, Your Worship and members of council, I'm suggesting in consultation with the Ministry of Environment and our auditor that there's a possibility of a $1,200 savings here by combining these plans and eliminating a tremendous amount of duplication, as well as significant internal savings as a result of that reduced duplication in managing and administering 2 separate systems. So combining the 2, not only for an administrative reason for the actual plan itself, we would combine the actual annual audits. So that's we're very pleased to have this option available to us. So with that, your worship, there's a recommendation before you this evening. And I'm happy to take any questions if council would have any.
Thank you, Ed, for that report. Any questions for our Mr. Rollison?
You, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Emerson.
If we combine the reporting, are we combining the two water systems in kind, and then does that affect the drilling and reserves? All that stuff?
Through your worship. No, the two systems are identified with a separate waterworks number that's been assigned by the Ministry of the Environment. So essentially, this is an administrative exercise, really, and no such other combining would happen.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for
Thanks.
clearing that up.
Any additional questions? Councilor Chilcott?
Thank you. So when you combine the two, you said there was 21 overlapping items. How many are not overlapping, and we do the same thing for each system regardless of the overlap?
Through your worship, as I mentioned, a number of the 21 elements do overlap. The specific ones that don't overlap would be related to the water treatment side for Richmond, whereas the BAM system is distribution only. So the plan would essentially have, and as it's there in your with the report, very, very lengthy, but it details, if it's speaking to water treatment, it speaks to the Richmond system. And as an example, that one of the elements is around risk assessment. So there'd be a totally different risk assessment and risk outcomes to, water treatment in Richmond than there would be from, so there's really just a few components that really don't overlap. You'll see quite actually a lot of the wording is identical for both systems.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep.
Additional questions? Comments? Very lengthy report.
Great, well done.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff here. They put a lot of work into this one, Ed, so congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further comments or questions, we have a motion that reads, the staff report PS 0624 regarding drinking water quality management standards be received for information. And that the council of the corporation and municipality of Bayham endorse the combined Bayham water distribution system and the Richmond Community Water System Supply System operational plan. And that the operational plan be reviewed annually by staff and revisions made as necessary to maintain and improve the quality management system. We have a mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Weisner, second by Councilor Chilcott. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Section 12, Development Services, Sustainability and Conservation. 12.1 corresponds, 12.1.1 to receive for information. Item A, notice of passing regarding zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0624 Unger. B, notice of passing regarding zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0724 Underhill. C, notice of passing regarding zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0824 Lancusen. D, notice of passing regarding zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 0324 Shep. E, notice of public meeting regarding proposed minor variance A 0224 Prose. F, notice of public meeting regarding proposed minor variance A 0424 Sawatsky and Friesen. G, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1224 Asher. And H, notice of public meeting regarding proposed zoning bylaw amendment ZBA 1324 Dan Froze Farms, Inc. Any questions regarding that correspondence? Mover and seconder for the following, please. That items 12.1.1A through H be received for information. Councilor Chilcott will move. Deputy Mayor Weiser will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. 12.2, Reports to council, we have report DS 2424 by Scott Sutherland, CVO first quarter building services report. Does he really put forward 24 reports?
It's combined with planning.
All right.
It's all part of development services.
Thank you.
I will be taking over for Scott tonight, Mr. Mayor, as Mr. Sutherland is at the Malahide Council meeting tonight. So the report before you is an overview of the first quarter of 2024. If you take a look at the table in front of you in the report, you'll see that the number of permits is down, but our amount of permit fees collected is double what it was for the first quarter of 2023. So this is indicative of a greater number of house permits that have been issued in the first quarter. And we've also identified for the first time in one of these reports, you'll see ICI buildings, so industrial, commercial, institutional. These are developed at a generally higher price point per square foot than residential is. So whenever we have any of these permits issued, they really do boost our permit fees. And we had 3 of these done in the first quarter. So overall, in comparison to the first quarter of last year, we're up more than 100%. So it's a good start for the year. But we are still seeing impacts due to interest rate hikes on the development sector in general, which is why we are comparatively down from 2022. So that is that's the report in front of you. We're hopeful for to see this continue in the second quarter of the year. Before you, in case there's any questions, I'm available for those.
All right, thank you very much for that, Thomas. Does anyone have any questions regarding the first quarter building report? Okay, thank you for that. I would concur that things are looking a lot better than 23. It'll take quite a little bit to get us back up to 22, but still, it seems quite optimistic. Seeing no questions or comments, need a mover and a seconder for the following, that the report DS 2424 regarding the first quarter report be received for information. Councilor Emerson, Councilor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That's great. Thank you. Item B. You're gonna swap?
Yeah, Mark and I are gonna switch seats for this.
Taking pity on you, Mark. Report DS 2724 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding development agreement regarding minor variance A0324 Roy Schreiber Farms Limited at 53777 Talbot Line. Got a few files in front of us, Mark, so
Everybody sit back and relax. Here we go.
there you go.
And thank you to our CAO for giving up his chair so I could sit for the next 7 reports. I appreciate that. Okay. So the first one before us is Shriver, report DS 2724. Just making sure I'm on the right one here. Okay. So this report before you comes to us with a development agreement that follows up a minor variance that the Committee of Adjustment granted, application A0324, granting permission to use the existing single detached dwelling as a supplementary farm dwelling to house seasonal farm laborers. So the development agreement before you is to regulate the use of that supplementary farm dwelling in so much as including the following requirements. The time period for occupation is April 1st to November 30. It includes a time period for removal if no longer necessary. It includes building and site maintenance requirements, requires potable drinking water supply, requires appropriate septic services, requires appropriate building permits be obtained, and includes inspection requirements. Staff recommend the approval of the development agreement before you, and it would, with the approval, satisfy the condition of minor variance application A23-24. And I leave it with you, Your Worship.
Thank you for that. Any questions? All right, looks like you're going to escape unscathed on the first one. The report, the motion reads that report DS 2724 regarding the Roy Schreiber Farms Limited Development Agreement be received. and that council authorize the execution of a development agreement between the municipality and Roy Driver Farms Limited to permit the existing two-story single detached dwelling to be deemed as a supplementary farm dwelling, to be used for the accommodation of a maximum of 10 seasonal farm laborers at 53777 Talbot Line. And that bylaw number 2024-019 be presented for enactment. I need a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Froze and Councillor Emerson will second. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Item C, report DS 2824 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding temporary use and demolition agreement Baldwin at 56444 Talbot Line.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report before you is upon a request from Dale and Wendy Baldwin to enter into an agreement with the municipality. An agreement we call a temporary use and demolition agreement. And it is for the purpose of entering into an agreement to allow the landowners to use an existing dwelling while they construct a new dwelling. And within the agreement, there is a security deposit required of $10,000. They are required to apply for their building permit within a certain time frame. And then they are also required to demolish the existing house within a certain time frame after the new house is occupied. So the owners have applied for a building permit for the new dwelling. They await the approval of this temporary use and demolition agreement that is attached to the report. Once the agreement is approved, they will submit the required security deposit to the municipality, and that will fulfill the requirement of that agreement. And they can move forward with their building permit application. And I leave it with you, Your Worship.
Thank you for that, Mark. Any questions? Motion reads that report DS 2824 regarding the Baldwin temporary use and demolition agreement be received, and that bylaw number 2024-020 being a bylaw to authorize an agreement between Dale and Wendy Baldwin and the Corporation and Municipality of Bayham be presented for enactment. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Emerson and Councillor Rose will second. All in favor? Carried. Item D. Report DS 2924 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding the rezoning application ZBA 1124 Peters at 9704 Plank Road. Margaret.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report before you is for rezoning of a property at 9704 Plank Road where the owners wish to construct a new accessory structure, detached garage. And it will have a maximum height of 5.2 meters, whereas 4.5 meters is permitted. And the maximum floor area of 149 square meters, whereas 75 square meters is permitted in the R1 zone. The effect of passing the bylaw will be to permit the construction of this garage with the maximum height of 5.2 and the maximum floor area of 149 square meters. We had a public meeting on April the 4th. There were no signed-in attendees and no written submissions. So the owners are seeking permission to construct this garage to store an RV and garden tractors equipment and have it for personal storage. The planner's memorandum dated March 27th provides an analysis of the application against our official plan and our zoning bylaw. One point to note, given the size and location of the detached garage, staff do have concerns with drainage impacts to the abutting lands and water retention on the subject lands. We're finding this more and more with these larger garages and even normal sized garages that are close to property lines. We want to be very aware of any kind of drainage concerns or potential for concerns. It will be a requirement that an approved engineer grading plan for the property, including the future detached garage, is required prior to the issuance of a building permit for the detached garage. It will also be required that the owner include garage eaves, troughs, and downspouts on the building plans, demonstrating that water is not directed towards the southern property line prior to the issuance of a building permit. Staff and planner concur the rezoning application meets the policies. We recommend approval to change the zoning from Village R1 to a site-specific Village Residential R1-22 to permit the construction of the oversized personal storage garage. And I leave it with you, Your Worship.
All right, thank you very much for that presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Wow, that's three. Okay, the motion would read that report DS 2924 regarding the Peters rezoning application ZBA 1124 be received for information. And that pursuant to Planning Act Regulations Bill 73, Smart Growth for Our Communities Act 2015, it be pointed out that at the public participation meeting held April the 4th, 2024, associated with this application, there were no attendees, no oral presentations, and no written submissions received regarding this matter, and that all considerations were taken into account in council's decision passing this resolution, and that zoning bylaw number Z 456/2003 as amended be further amended by changing the zoning on a property located in lot 126, concession 7, known municipally as 9704 Plank Road, from Village Residential 1 R1 to site-specific Village Residential R1 22 to permit a proposed accessory structure, a detached garage, on the subject property with a maximum height of 5.2 meters, 17.1 feet, and a maximum floor area of 149 square meters, 1,603.8 square feet. And at zoning bylaw number Z 778/2024 be presented to council for enactment. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Chilcott will move, Councillor Froese will second. All in favor? That's carried. Item E. Report DS 3024 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding the rezoning application ZBA 0524, CHR Farms Limited at 56573 Colton Line. Mark, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The report before you is for a rezoning application submitted by appointed agent Jesse Froese on behalf of CHR Farms Limited, rezoning the property at 56573 Colton Line. The purpose of the bylaw amendment is to rezone two portions of the subject lands as a result of a surplus farm dwelling severance. The proposed severed lot is proposed to be rezoned from site-specific agricultural A1A 34 zone to rural residential RR zone. And the proposed retained lot is to be rezoned from A1A 34 zone to a site-specific special agricultural A2-19 zone to prohibit new dwellings, recognize and permit a maximum of 3 supplementary farm dwellings in portions of 2 existing buildings to accommodate seasonal farm laborers. Permit a minimum side yard depth of 7.2 meters from the existing barn to remain, and prohibit any new supplementary farm dwellings. The effect of the bylaw is to recognize the residential nature of the newly created residential lot, otherwise known as the surplus farm dwelling, and to prohibit new dwellings on the retained farm parcel, all in accordance with our official plan. And all part and parcel to clearing of the consent conditions for Elgin Land Division Committee File E8-24. Public meeting was held April 4th, 2024. There were no signed-in attendees, no written public submissions. Staff report DS 7023 regarding the consent application E824 was considered and supported by council in December of 2023 with a condition to rezone both the parcels. Staff and planner concur the rezoning application meets the policies and recommend approval to change the zoning. As stated, A1A 34 to rural residential on the severed, A1A 34 to special agricultural A219 on the retained lands, prohibiting new dwellings in accordance with the OP policies regarding severance of a surplus farm dwelling. And I leave it with you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much for that report, Margaret. Any questions from council? Right? The motion would read the report DS 3024 regarding the rezoning application ZBA 0524 CHR Farms Limited be received for information. And that pursuant to Planning Act Regulations Bill 73, Smart Growth for Our Communities Act 2015, it be pointed out that at the public participation meeting held April 4th, 2024, associated with this application, there were no attendees, no oral presentations, and no written submissions received regarding this matter, and that all considerations were taken into account in council's decision passing this resolution, and that zoning bylaw number Z 456, 2003 as amended be further amended by changing the zoning on a property located at lots 18 and 19. Concession 4, known municipally as 56573 Colton Line from agricultural A1, A34 to rural residential RR on the severed lot, and from agricultural A1, A34 to site-specific special agriculture A2, 19 on the retained parcel as a condition of consent E 24 to permit the severance of a surplus farm dwelling. And that zoning bylaw number Z 773, 2024 be presented to council for enactment. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Weiser will move, Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That's carried. It seems to be getting longer. Martin.
You've got lots to read.
Item F. Report DS 3124 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk regarding consent application E3524 Uranus at 10-122 Sandytown Road.
Thank you, Your Worship. As stated, consent application E3524 was received from the Algon County Land Division Committee, submitted by appointed agent David Rowe on behalf of Penny and Peter Uranus. They're proposing to sever a parcel located at 10122 Sandytown Road. The subject lands are agriculture with portions natural heritage, and they also have hazard lands and significant woodlands associated with the natural heritage designation on portions of the property. As well, they have LPRCA regulation limit on a small portion of the property. The Algon County Land Division Committee will consider the application on May 22nd. So the planner's memorandum that's attached, dated April the 10th, does analyze the application subject to the county OP, the municipality of Bayham OP, and our zoning bylaw. Upon review, the standard conditions would include civic numbering signage for the retained lot, survey, cash in lieu payment for the creation of a lot, and the planning report fee. Other conditions apply regarding an approved municipal road access for the retained lot, a drain deposit for reassessment of a municipal drain being the Wilson Drain. And staff and planner recommend the support of the consent application for the division of the agricultural parcel into 2 parcels fronting on Sandytown Road with recommended conditions. And I would note that the one condition number 1, does recognize that one of the lots does not quite meet the 20 hectare minimum. So they will have to rezone to recognize that reduced lot area at 18.41 hectares. And I leave it with you, Your Worship.
Thank you for that report, Mark. Any questions from members of council? Addition, this gets longer. I should almost have you read it, but
I could,
I
Your
will
Worship.
do it this time. The motion reads that report DS 3124 regarding the consent application E 3524 Uranus be received. And that council recommend to the Algon County Land Division Committee that consent application E 3524 be granted, subject to the following conditions and considerations. Number 1, the owner obtains approval of a zoning bylaw amendment for the proposed severed lot from a special agricultural A2 zone to site-specific special agricultural A2 XX zone to permit a minimum lot area of 18.41 hectares. Number 2, that the owner initiate and assume, if required, all engineering costs associated with the preparation of a revised assessment schedule for a municipal drain, the Wilson Drain, in accordance with the Drainage Act, RSO 1990, as amended, with a deposit to be paid in full to the municipality prior to the condition being deemed fulfilled. If the deposit does not cover the cost of the revised assessment schedule, the applicant will be billed for any additional costs incurred. Number 3, the owner pay the planning report fee due and payable to the municipality upon consent approval. Number 4, the owner pay the cash in lieu of parkland dedication fee to the municipality as required by in municipal bylaw number 2020-053. Number 5, the owner provide a digital copy of the registered plan of survey of the subject land to the municipality. Number 6, the owner purchase a civic number sign for the retained lot. And number 7, the owner obtain a road access permit for an approved access to the retained lot. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councilor Froese will move. Deputy Mayor Weisler will second. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Item G. We have report DS 3224 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding consent application E7523 Giesbrecht at 11450 Ridge Line. Mark?
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is a revisit to a previous application. On November 16, 2023, Council considered application E7523 from Neil and Maria Giesbrecht, proposing to sever a parcel of land and retain the farmland. So they were looking to create a residential lot by severing off an existing dwelling. At the time, council passed a resolution deferring that application and with several requirements as proposed to change the application to meet the provincial policy statement, ROP, and the county OP. Part of that recommendation that was sent to Land Division Committee included suggestions on how to change that application, amend that application, and bring it back for further consideration. Part of that was to submit a second application. In this case, it's E30-24. And that application deals with the severance of the larger farm parcel into 2 farm parcels. Once that is done, then E7523 could take effect and actually appropriately sever that surplus farm dwelling off of the farm parcel. So E75 is contingent on E30-24. So, as I say, in accordance with our resolution that we sent to Land Division Committee, and Land Division Committee deferred the application and passed that on to the applicant. The applicant has come back. They have provided the 2 applications. So the amended E7523 proposes to sever the farm parcels into 2 pieces, establishing 2 farm parcel fabrics. And E30-24 can address the surplus farm dwelling. So I ask you that you referred to the Arcadis memorandum. He gave a full analysis of both applications individually and noting that one is dependent on the other. So based on the review analysis, the applications as presented meet the PPS, the Elgin County OP, our OP, and our zoning. And we support the 2 applications with the recommended conditions. So again, it is to note that E30-24 would essentially have to be approved first by Land Division Committee and all the conditions satisfied. And then E75-23, once those conditions are satisfied, then the whole process would be complete and they would get what they are trying to get to, is to sever off the surplus farm dwelling. So I am open to questions on this one. Again, Your Worship, I'll leave it with you.
Well, thank you very much for that. And I recall when this came before council last fall. And this was the only avenue in order to accommodate them. Any questions from members of council on this? It is a journey. You're doing a pretty good job, Mark. No one's asking any questions.
Yes.
All right. The proposed motion would read that report DS 3224 regarding consent applications E7523 and E30-24 submitted by Neil and Maria Giesbrecht be received for information. And that council recommend to the Elgin County Land Division Committee that consent applications E30-24 and E75-23 be granted, subject to the following for each. E30-24 for the creation of a new agricultural lot, subject to the following conditions. The owner pay fees as required in municipal bylaw number 2020-053, cash in lieu of parkland. Number 2, the owner provides a digital copy of a survey of the subject lands. Number 3, the owner provides a planning report fee payable to the municipality of BAM upon consent approval. For E 7523, for proposed surplus farm dwelling severance subject to the following conditions. Number 1, that the conditions of approval are satisfied for consent application E 3024. Number 2, the owner obtains approval of a zoning bylaw amendment for the proposed severed lot from the agricultural A1A zone to the rural residential zone. Number 3, the owner obtains approval of a zoning bylaw amendment for the proposed retained lot from the agricultural A1A zone to the special agricultural A2 zone to prohibit new dwellings. Number 4, the owner purchases a civic number sign for the retained lot. Number 5, the owner provides a digital copy of a survey of the subject lands. And number 6, the owner provides a planning report fee payable to the municipality of BAM. Do I have a mover and seconder for that? Councilor Emerson will move, Councilor Froze will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All right, report DS 3324 by Margaret Underhill, Planning Coordinator, Deputy Clerk, regarding development amending agreement pros at 57268 Colton Line.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council will note, we considered consent application E 3123 submitted by appointed agent Jesse Froze back in June of 2023 on behalf of Isaac and Maria Froze. They were proposing to sever a 1.01 acre of land and retain 94.4 acres with the intent to create a rural residential parcel containing an existing dwelling, otherwise known as a surplus farm dwelling, to their farm operation. Included in the recommended conditions and approved by Land Division Committee was the requirement to enter into or to revise or amend, if necessary, the development agreement between the owners and the municipality associated with minor variance A-0117 for the supplementary farm dwelling that is present on the property. To satisfy that condition number 8 in the list, a draft development amending agreement has been prepared for council's consideration, addressing those items that need to be updated with the severance of the dwelling from the farmlands containing the supplementary farm dwelling. The retained lands have a new civic number as per condition number 7, and so the development amending agreement will be registered to lands municipally known as 57200 Colton Line and legally described as noted in the report. I won't read the legal description. Sections of the agreement to be updated include that the owner shall be responsible for consulting with and obtaining any and all necessary approvals from Southwestern Public Health. And section number 6 of the original agreement is removed and replaced with the following: that the owner shall satisfy all the requirements in relation to fire protection for the buildings, including maintaining a road access and driveway to the barn and supplementary farm dwelling that which is capable of supporting a fire pumper loaded with 2,000 gallons of fire for fire protection, all to the satisfaction of the municipality's fire chief. The draft development amending agreement also updates a pair of attachments, specifically the land description and the conceptual site plan. Staff recommended the support of this amending agreement to satisfy the condition of consent E 3123 for the creation of one severed surplus farm dwelling parcel. And I leave it with you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mark, for that report. Does anyone have any questions? Good job. All right, the motion would read that report DS 3324 regarding the development amending agreement froze be received. And that council authorize the execution of a development amending agreement between the municipality and Isaac and Maria Froze to continue to permit one supplementary farm dwelling in the form of a mobile home to house up to 8 seasonal farm laborers at 57200 Colton Line to satisfy a condition of consent application E 3123 granted by the Elgin County Land Division Committee on June the 28th, 2023. And that bylaw number 2024-021 be presented for enactment. Do I have a mover and second? Deputy Mayor Weiser and Councillor Chilcott will second. All in favor? That is carried. Well done. How many are you going to bring next month?
Nothing on the 2nd. I won't be here.
It'll be an early evening.
But look out on the 16th.
All right, thank you. All right, we're moving down to section 13, finance and administration, 13.1 correspondence, and 13.1.1 to receive for information. We have a number of items. For the benefit of those who are tuning in virtually, item A, City of Guelph regarding support of the decision of the Internal Energy Board to end the subsidization of fossil gas. Item B, County of Prince Edward regarding municipal accessibility fund. C, Town of Goderich regarding the recommended phase out of free well water testing in the 2023 Auditor General's report. Item D, City of St. Catharines regarding urgent need for increased funding for museums and libraries. E, City of Brantford regarding home heating sustainability. F, Ministry of Finance regarding municipal taxation announcements. G, Woodstock, Ingersoll, Tilsmorgan Area Association of Realtors regarding the housing market update for March of 24. That's 2024, excuse me. Item H, Long Point Region Conservation Authority regarding the March 1st, 2024 meeting minutes. And I, the Elgin County regarding the April 9th, 2024 Elgin County highlights. Does anyone have any questions or offer any comments for any of these items of correspondence? Okay. Need a mover and seconder for the following, that items 13.1.1A through I be received for information. Councilor Emerson will move. Deputy Mayor Weiser will second. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. 13.2, reports to council. We have item A, report CAO 1324 by Thomas Thayer. CAO regarding extension of site plan agreement, Graham Estates, Inc., otherwise known as Legend Rubber, Inc., at 56957 Talbot Line, SPA 0322. Thomas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just a quick report. We've done a couple of these very similar where applicants have requested extensions, data completion for various reasons. So Legend Rubber has requested an extension under Section 27 of their agreement until October 21st, 2024, in association with permitting and construction of the identified expansion. So we have drafted and executed this agreement. Mr. Graham was in on Friday last week to authorize this. So this is already signed and ready to go under delegated authority. And this report is provided for information purposes. So I'll leave it with you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that report. Does anyone from council have any questions? Thomas, perhaps I missed it in the report, but why are they requesting an extension? Are they behind?
Yeah, so they're going back and forth with the building staff and the contractor to ensure that they have the right permitting and the right drawings in place, given the complexity of the expansion.
Thank you very much for that clarity. Okay. Any other questions? All right. Motion would read that report CAO 1324 regarding extension of site plan agreement, Graham Estates, otherwise known as Legend Rubber, Inc., at 56957 Talbot Line, Bayham, application number SPA 0322 be received for information. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Emerson will move. Deputy Mayor Weiser will second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that was carried. Item B, report CAO 1424 by Thomas Thayer regarding, excuse me, forgot your title, CAO regarding site plan agreement, Blatz, 12 Elizabeth Street, SPA 0124.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this one is a little bit more involved. So there was a report that came to council last September, report DS 5123 for a rezoning application for this property. At the time, it was identified that the bylaw in question, Z 761/2023, be given first and second reading. And then third reading would be pending a site plan agreement and approval for the work on the property. So on January 8th of this year, we received a site plan control application requesting amendment to the existing site plan agreement for the property known as 12 Elizabeth Street in Port Burwell. The application was deemed complete on February the 20th, 2024. So this came about due to public concerns regarding shared service driveway and removal of the second story patio to improve privacy. The intent of the site plan application is to renovate the upper floor area, approximately 557 square feet of the existing shop clubhouse, to be an apartment for the park manager. As noted, bylaw number Z 761/2023 was given first and second reading by council to rezone the property subject to site plan approval. This bylaw is attached to this report. It's also included in the bylaw section tonight for third and final reading. And so should council opt to provide third and final reading to this bylaw, then under delegated authority, I will formally execute the site plan agreement on behalf of the municipality, finalizing both processes. Zoning in this instance is required to be in place before formal authorization of the site plan. So now that we have the site plan all ready to go, the third reading of the bylaw is before council for consideration, and that is reflected in the recommendation.
All right, thank you very much for that report. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Proposed motion would read the report CAO 1424 regarding amendment to site plan agreement Blatz, 12 Elizabeth Street, Grace Court, Port Burwell, application number SPA 0124 be received for information. And that bylaw number Z 761/2023 be presented to council for third and final reading. Mover and seconder, Deputy Mayor Weiser, Councillor Probst. Second, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Brings us to section 14, the bylaws. Got a number of them. Bylaw number 2024, being a bylaw to provide for drainage works in the municipality of Bayham in the county of Elgin, known as the Peters Drain Branch D, for third reading. Bylaw number 2024-016, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between the corporation and municipality of Bayham and RNN Maintenance for pavement marking services. Bylaw number 2024-17, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an agreement between the corporation and municipality of Bayham and Wilson's Lawn Care for lawn maintenance services. D, bylaw number 2024-018, being a bylaw to adopt a municipal assistance for community events policy. E, bylaw number 2024-019, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a development agreement between Roy Schreiber Farms Limited and the corporation of the municipality of Bayham. F, bylaw number 2024-020, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a temporary use and demolition agreement between Dale and Wendy Baldwin and the corporation of the municipality of Bayham. G, bylaw number 2024-021, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a development amending agreement between Isaac and Maria Froese and the corporation of the municipality of Bayham. H, bylaw number Z 761/2023, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z 456/2003 as amended, Blatz, for third reading. I, bylaw number Z 773/2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z 456/2003 as amended, CHR Farms Limited. And J, bylaw number Z 778/2024, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number Z 456/2003 as amended, Peters. Does anyone have any questions on any of these bylaws? Okay. The motion would read that bylaw numbers 2024-016, 2024-017, 2024-018, 2024-019, 2024-20, 2024-021, Z 773/2024, and Z 778/2024 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Do I have a mover and seconder, please? We'll take Deputy Mayor Weiser and Councillor Emerson, and all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. The second motion, that bylaw numbers 2024-004 and Z 761/2023 be read a third and time and finally passed. I need a mover and second. Councillor Froese and Councillor Emerson. All in favor? That's carried. Opposed? Carried? Good. Brings us down to section 16, other business. We will be going into an in-camera session, so we need the following motion passed. That council do now rise into an in-camera session at 8:00 PM to discuss a confidential item regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, CAO performance review. Need a mover and seconder, please. Counselor Emerson and Counselor Chilcott. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.